a new day and we are here in Goa reviewing a brand new sedan from Skoda. Now this sedan will be replacing the Skoda Rapid in the Indian market. So ladies and gentlemen, presenting you the all new Skoda Slavia. So without further ado, let's start the video and I'll tell you everything you need to know about this all new sedan. So guys, now we are finally in the driving seat of the all-new Skoda Slavia, and first things first, let me give you a quick brief about the engine. So the variant that we are driving today is the 1.5 litre turbocharged TSI petrol unit. Now this engine produces 150 PS of power and 250 Nm of peak torque, and the gearbox options available with this engine is a 6-speed manual gearbox or a 7-speed dual clutch automatic gearbox, also known as the DSG. So today what we are driving over here is the 7-speed DSG gearbox, and it is one of the best gearbox available in the market as far as the automatic gearbox is concerned. Apart from that, you do not get any dedicated driving modes for the car, but you get a sport mode and a manual mode for the gearbox. Now right now I'm on the normal drive mode, so what is happening is that the shifts actually come in really quick, so it just shifts at around 1800 or maybe 2000 rpm. But once you switch to the sport mode, it holds the gear for a longer duration, as in like it will hold the gear till around 3000 or maybe 3200 and then shift. So I mean the engine will feel like it is running under stress, but that is how the sport option works. Other than that, you can switch to manual control, you can flick gears from here, or if you really want to go all flat out and not being bothered to change gears from here, in the 7-speed DSG gearbox you also get paddle shifters, so you can manually control and shift the gears from the steering wheel itself. So now let's talk about the steering wheel. So the steering wheel actually feels very light initially, but with speed, I mean when you gradually generate speed, it kind of stiffens up. So yeah, that's a good thing, because a slightly stiffer steering wheel is any day better than a very light steering wheel at high speed. It just increases the chances of risk. Other than that guys, the steering is really responsive. You just need to flick it and the car will just shift lanes like in a jiffy. So now let's talk about the suspension of the car. So the suspension setup on the all new Slavia is actually very brilliant. Now there is very minimum on the body roll. I mean that does not mean that the suspension is very stiff. It absorbs all the bumps. It gives you a very comfortable drive in the city on the highway, and it absorbs all the potholes and the small undulations that the road throws at you. I mean it is pretty quiet in the cabin thanks to the good NVH level. I mean the insulation level is also really nice. You barely hear the motor. I mean when you're obviously post 4000 or maybe 4500 rpm, then slight sound starts coming in through the engine, but other than that, I mean the suspension setup is brilliant. One thing that we noticed is that the front suspension setup, since obviously there's the engine planted at the front, so the car feels slightly more planted at the front, but because it has a higher ground clearance, the rear end is slightly canted upwards. So what that does is the rear passengers may feel a slight amount of body roll, but overall if you're driving, to be very honest, you will not feel the body roll at all. It's not like once again I tell you, it's not like the suspension is very stiff, but yeah, it balances out. It is somewhere in between, and that's where it should be. Now let's talk about the acceleration of it. So again, I mentioned that there are no dedicated drive modes, but if you put it on S, it holds the gear for a longer duration, and this car can pull. So you have around 150 PS and 250 Nm of power. Now what that means is that right now I'm in third gear. I'm actually below 2000 rpm. I'm cruising around at 35 kilometers an hour, and I'm doing around 1800 rpm. So once I just floor it, it is on drive mode, it's not on sport. What happened? It just drops 2 gear and the car starts pulling. Now this is where you will hear the engine noise slightly coming in, and now we have crossed 100. So yeah, I mean it is a fast car. The power figures definitely keep up to it. Now this car is pretty fast, and I think it is the power figures are the highest in its segment. And what that means is that since it has a lot of power, now having a lot of power does not make sense unless you have stopping power. So the brakes on the Slavia are again excellent. You have a disc setup at the front and a drum setup at the rear. I wish that they could also have given a disc setup at the rear end, but other than that, it does not make a difference. The car just stops. I mean, you just check out, I'll just tap the brake and it just stops instantly. Now once again, the last thing that I want to tell you, we have got this car for a very short period of time since this is a first drive. So I mean we've been driving this car in Goa for around say maybe like 3-4 hours, and the seats are pretty comfortable. I mean for long journeys it will definitely not tire you out. It just hugs you and it is perfect. Or whatever size of stature the guy is, it does not matter. It has got decent under thigh support, it has got good side bolsterings, and it is very comfortable and very cushiony. So again, again. What that means is long drives or short drives, there is no problem whatsoever. But we will get this car definitely for a full road test review, and that time we will tell you how much mileage does this give, what is the start-stop thing. So one more thing, guys, that I forgot to mention about that is that this also features the cylinder deactivation that you have seen on the Skoda Kushaq. Now what that means is that if you are going at lower speeds and you're cruising at a very minimal speed, out of 4 cylinders, 2 cylinders, cylinder number 1 and cylinder number 4 will be active, but cylinder number 2 and 3 will get deactivated. So in return, you will not feel the knocking. It is actually very brilliant. You will not feel anything inside the car, but in return, you will get around 18 kilometers per liter is what Skoda claims is the mileage after the cylinder deactivation happens. Other than that, since I mentioned this, guys, that this is a first drive review, so we'll be getting this car for a proper road test review, and that time we will be telling you that how is it faring in the traffic, how is it faring in the highway, and whether it is claiming the given kilometers that Skoda has claimed. So guys, this was the all-new Skoda Slavia. If you have any further questions about this car, you can mention it in the comment section. And then if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, share and subscribe to all our social media channels. I'm Pramit signing out. See you next time. Thank you so much for watching. Take care, be safe and drive safe.